Come on. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SCV Law and Life podcast. Today, we are going beyond the law with Lisa Odom, who is an attorney for 21 years, and she practices in many fields, including business, real estate planning, probate, and trust administration. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Good. I know we spoke briefly before, but before that, I haven't spoken to you in a while. The last time I saw you, since then, you switched offices. Now you have your own firm again, and
Yeah.
then you have a new office.
Yeah. It's been, wow. That means it's been a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah.
We actually just enjoyed our 4th anniversary at Odom Law Group. And I can proudly say we started with 5 employees total, including me. And now we have 21 employees, including me.
Oh, that's excellent. That's
9
awesome.
of which are lawyers.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me then. Tell me what you do. Tell me, give me a 2-minute of your background of what you do and how you got here and about your firm.
Absolutely. Well, so I practice in the areas, as you said, business and real estate. I primarily focus on our transactional side of our practice. So I do a lot of agreement drafting, forming new businesses, whether it's a corporation or an LLC, lots of negotiations of asset purchase agreements. So like if someone's acquiring a business, but they don't want to actually take the stock. A lot of mergers and acquisitions. We do a lot of business transitions from one family member to another. If it's, somebody's retiring and wants to get out of the business. We also do a lot of, in the real estate world, we do a ton of lease work, a lot of purchase transactions, promissory notes, deeds of trust, basically the gamut of anything transactional in both the real estate and the corporate world, whatever it could be. And what has really transpired on the business side of things is that we are sort of outside corporate counsel to a lot of our businesses. We know their businesses, we understand how they work, and we handle everything from permitting to major litigation as their sort of like a litigation liaison. Like we'll hire a litigation firm. Like we have a client that has a wrongful death case going on right now. That wrongful death case is being handled by defense counsel that's very well versed in the subject matter. But I am the company representative. I go to every hearing, I'm at every single thing, and I report back to the client because I'm their outside corporate counsel.
Okay.
And then on our estate planning side, we obviously draft estate plans. We handle trust administration after someone passes. And if they didn't have an estate plan, we will do their probates for them. We also have a litigation practice that's head up by my partner, Taylor Williams Moniz. She largely does like the trust and estates litigation. So people want to contest a trust, we can handle that. If someone's not providing an accounting, things like that. And then she does a ton of real estate and business litigation as well. And we have basically 2 full teams that are transactional based and or litigation based. And we have a couple that kind of bridge both fields, myself included somehow. I don't know how I got into the litigation realm, but somehow I have. But so that's the business basically. And it's been amazing. I'm so proud of what we stand for here and our collaboration. And we help our clients protect what's important to them. And that's a very important job and one I take very seriously. So
on the real estate part, is it mostly going to be businesses, or do you also handle individuals who have a dispute in real estate?
So we handle individuals in real estate in multiple facets.
Okay.
So we obviously do, we'll draft leases for, like, if you're an investor in real estate and you have some properties, let's say you had a multi-unit in North Hollywood and you needed 6 leases drafted. We do residential leases all the time. We also work with property managers in the same way. We will do, like, sometimes we have this happening right now, a trust administration family member wants to sell the asset that belonged to the other family member to a grandchild. We'll facilitate that process. We'll be involved in that. We'll draft the documents. Have you ever heard of like a seller carryback note?
No.
Well, so every once in a while, someone will want to purchase a property, but they lack the ability to get formal financing, formal standard financing. And sometimes we'll get a seller who's willing to say, you know what, I don't mind waiting for a little bit to get my money with getting a 7 or 8% interest rate. So we'll do seller carryback financing and just various forms of real estate related agreements. Sometimes if the parties are fighting about a property that's jointly owned, we see this a lot when people break up and one person wants to sell and the other doesn't. We do partition actions. We do unlawful detainer actions. We pretty much do anything and everything in real estate.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say there's adjoining parcels and there's a CC&R in place that the lower sitting parcel is not allowed to, put any trees up that's going to block the view of the $1 million parcel above, right? So let's say I get a call from the owner of the upper parcel who wants to enforce the CC&R and not allow them to do that. Is that something you guys would handle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We do a lot of easement agreements. We deal with, title issues when we are doing transactions.
Yeah.
Sometimes someone will get a weird title report and they'll be like, what does this mean? We'll analyze those. We help people facilitate lot line adjustments, things like that. So on our transactional side, we have a lot of land use capabilities. So we definitely do that quite a bit.
So you personally, you like the transaction or do you like the litigation part of it?
So for me personally, I'm definitely a transactional lawyer through and through. But what I like about the litigation side is what I feel about the litigation practice is it makes me a better transactional lawyer. And here's why. What it does is it challenges me to understand what happens when things don't work. And then I get to use that knowledge and put it into the transactional side. And I do it in my estate planning. I do it in my real estate. I do it in my business side. Litigation is what reveals the problems with how people do things.
Yeah.
Transactional is how you avoid those problems in the future. So taking that knowledge allows me to be an even stronger lawyer who's able to sort of anticipate what could go wrong and let the clients make a very informed decision on how they want to approach it. But I would definitely say I'm a transactional lawyer. I love drafting contracts. I love having to catch little hey, this is a little tricky. We're trying to sneak something in here. I think it's a lot of fun.
Nope, not for me. I can.
That's why you do what you do.
It actually drives me nuts, but litigation is what gets me going. And it's funny because the way you describe how litigation helps you in the transaction part, when I did defense work, I learned how to defend cases, right?
Right.
So now I take that knowledge into my practice as a plaintiff's attorney, and I do the same thing. And I know how to, hey, this is going to come up in this case. This is how they're going to argue it. So exactly, right. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that, I always tell people it's the practice of law, not the absolution of law. And it's really important that people, even non-lawyers, understand that. We are also constantly learning. And if we're not, then we may as well become completely stagnant and irrelevant in our practice. You have to learn. That learning is what makes you the best. And it's what makes people come back to you time and time again because they trust your knowledge and your know-how. And so for me, every trust litigation that I go through, I'm like, interesting. I wouldn't have anticipated that provision would have caused this. So even if I'm doing it right, when you see what somebody else did wrong, it helps guide when a client says to me, oh, this happens a lot in estate planning. In the powers of the trustee, there will be a power to lend and borrow. And people all the time tell me, I don't like that provision. And I'm like, but you do though. You have to have it. And there's reasons why you have to have it. I tell them What if you're about, a year or two ago, the interest rates for a 30-year mortgage were, I think, in the high sixes, low sevens. They're pretty expensive. And that's like owner occupied. Like if you were an investor, forget it. It was 9%, 8%. Well, what if interest rates went back down to 4% and you're in the middle of a refinance and you get into a car accident and you want to complete this. You've already gone the whole way through the process, and now you're in a car accident and you're in a coma. Now you're going to survive said coma, but you're in a coma for 5 days while your body heals, and you're supposed to close escrow. Don't you want your family to finish this transaction? Of course you do. You're about to come out of this coma, and you're going to be like, "Hello, everybody. Why did you finish?"
Yeah, forget about that. That's the coma. I'm taking care of business right here.
Exactly. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it does happen where people are, by our nature, people are always doing stuff and always taking care of business and doing what they see is in their family's best interest. And you would never want to be precluded from doing it because you were stubborn and said, I don't want any borrowing on my trust. By the way, it would also prevent you from borrowing if you had a no borrowing provision. So
what's the number one mistake you see people in trust administration do?
In transactional?
In the trust administration.
Oh, in trust administration. Yeah. Well, in trust administration, the biggest error I see is that people think that they don't have to do any reporting of any sort. A trust administration, the reason that it avoids probate is because there is a whole series of probate code provisions that tell you exactly how you have to administer that trust, including a notice under 1606 1.7 of the probate code, including accountings, including lots of different things. And people often skip that accounting most specifically. The accounting, if you never give an accounting, you never start the statute of limitations. So I have a funny story actually about being a lawyer with this exact scenario. So client calls and says, Lisa, I'm being sued for a trust accounting, but I haven't been the trustee for 7 years. I don't have these records anymore. And I was like, I was very junior in trust administration, and I was confident as the day is long. And I was like, that's ridiculous. It's past the statute of limitations. There's not a claim here. We're going to be able to get rid of it. Oh boy, did I ever wish I had shut my mouth before I said something, because I had to come back a day later and say, did you ever give an accounting? Turns out they had not given the accounting. So the statute never started. But guess what they still had to do? The accounting. And it cost them, when it was all said and done, we obviously defended, advocated, negotiated it to a finish line, but they had to pay a penalty for failure to account. They ended up paying some damages, plus legal fees to defend themselves, which could have been not only completely avoided by providing the accounting, but when we do an accounting, we do something known as a waiver of judicial accounting. What that is telling the beneficiaries is not only are you signing off on this accounting and approving it, but on top of that, you are waiving the 3-year statute, because my client could take this accounting to the court, ask the court to approve it, and a court order after the appeals period is over makes there be no more 3 years. So the waiver of judicial accounting is seen as a way to not only get a release of liability, but to make it permanent and immediate. So it's a big error that I see, and I see it so often I can't even tell you. It's constant, but nobody wants to spend the money on the accounting, and they're like, my sister would never sue me.
Right. Yeah.
Case in point, uncles sued their nephews. So
it's always good until somebody same thing with employment law.
The money runs out.
Yeah, until employment law, same thing. You know what? Hey, we're just friends. They're never gonna, come back and sue me for this.
Exactly, and it happens so often that it's honestly shocking. So
yeah, I mean, I'm learning so much. I didn't know any of this stuff at all whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't. That's what I do. You know that.
Yeah, I really love I love my business and real estate practice so much, but like estate planning and trust administration, it's a really unique way to get to be part of someone's family. And you get to advise, like when my beneficiaries are taking their money, I'm always like, hey, I know you're married. I know you love that spouse so much and you love your kids so much and you're inclined to put it in a joint account, but hey, once you do that, you've commingled it and it's no longer your sole and separate property. What if you found out your wife had been cheating on you for 5 years and you put that into a joint account? Like, don't do that. Keep it separate. If you want to take your family on a vacation with it, book it directly and don't commingle the funds. Like, keep them separate. Keep them separate. So I get to be very involved in that. And I really love that aspect of it. I feel like it's very, it speaks to my soul.
Yeah, I hear the passion in your voice, which is good.
Thank you. I
Not
really
every
do.
attorney has it. I got news for you. So, I mean, how early should somebody get a hold of you? Should they do it from the very beginning? Obviously, when they're in trouble, but
I definitely think in the trust administration side, right at the beginning, because you have so many notices that have to be done right at death. Including to the, if you own real estate, there's a 120-day deadline. You need to get the trust out. So people only have 4 months to contest a trust. It's a very short statute of limitations, but if it's not noticed, it doesn't start the statute. So I would say right away when someone dies. In the business realm, we do a lot of startups, and I find that my most successful startups started with me from day one. And not because of, by the way, not claiming that's my contribution. But what I mean by that is that they set their business up properly. Like, you set things up as you mean to proceed. Like, and this applies even on the trust side too. If you start with a lawyer, you send out the proper notices, you're telling the world at large, I'm doing this correctly. So if you don't like it, that's too bad. I'm following the code. And you've established that from day one. We find that people who come to us later, the beneficiaries don't know what to do with that. On the business side, if you come and you're setting up a new business, let's say you're starting an accountancy business and you set it up and you don't realize that as a CPA, you have to have a professional firm. So you set up a regular corporation and now we have to convert it. That costs you extra money. Not necessarily extra money, but it's an extra step. Also, if you practice under the non-professional corporation, that could be a problem with the CPA licensing board. Like, there's just so many things that we get to do from inception to make sure you're doing everything correctly, that we find that our people who do that and they walk us through what they're doing. I don't just say, okay, let me form a corporation. I ask them, like, what is it that you're doing? Do you need manufacturing contracts? Do you have insurance? Like, there's things that we know just by virtue of representing hundreds of businesses that, yeah, you have to do this to ensure your limited liability, ensure that nobody can pierce the corporate veil. It's a funny thing, but piercing the corporate veil happens a lot when there's a very eager plaintiff's lawyer. I know that you might know one of those. So if somebody's like, I have no money, the business has no money, then you have now opened the floodgates of, well, let's talk about why that is. What exactly is happening here? Were you adequately capitalized? Did you do this right? And people think that they know. And, unfortunately, a lot of CPAs do this for their clients too. They'll form the business for them because it's tax advantageous, but without regard to a lawyer who's going to explain it's not enough just to create the corporation. You have to run it like a business. And without having a lawyer who's there, who's going to explain this to you in a way that you can understand. I think that is also one thing I'm always very cognizant of, is explaining things in a way that is understandable to a person who is not a lawyer. Lawyers we are different sort of animals. We are taught to think differently. And so to try to explain it in legalese, people look at you glossed over, don't know what that means, and don't know the significance of it. But if I say, hey, if you don't do this right, and then you kill someone, and now you're liable for the wrongful death, and because you didn't run your business properly, the plaintiff is going to go after you personally, all of a sudden people are listening. They're like, whoa, I don't like that. I don't want that. That's the type of stuff that we can help.
I mean, you always should lay the foundation before you do anything. It's with that with
Always.
everything, even sports franchises. If you don't lay the
Absolutely.
foundation, you do everything wrong. Yeah.
I find that when any part of our lives, when we take a little extra moment to make sure things are set up properly, we end up being so much more successful in it. For whatever reason, it puts it on the right track from day one.
So tell people how they can get a hold of you.
You can get a hold of me via email, lisa@odomlawgroup.com. Which, do you want me to spell it, or am I
Uh,
good?
sure.
Lisa, Lisa, at Odom, Odom, lawgroup.com. Or you can call our office at 661-367-1699.
And I assume Odom Law is your website address, obviously.
Yes, sorry. Yes, great point. You could also submit on there. It's www.odomlawgroup.com.
Okay. So now let's get to know Lisa a little bit. I noticed you like travel because I was looking in your bio. You got travel, golf, and fashion and creative writing.
Yep.
So let's talk about travel. Where do you like to go? What was the last time you went?
So the last place I went was Spain. My daughter is studying overseas, and so I went to Spain. We went to Marbella, Spain. It was quite beautiful beach community. Not sure how much studying she's doing there. It looks pretty fun to me, but she's loving her hospitality studies there. That's the last place that I went that was of significant travel. I do love to travel. I would like to get to 60 countries before I'm 60. Unfortunately, that time is closing in on me quickly. Well, quickly ish. But I've gotten to about 30, so I'm close. I feel like I need to do probably 3 to 4 countries a year, and I'm not 100% convinced that that's going to happen. So we might have to say 60 countries by 70. That might be the new goal.
That's still a huge goal. Wow.
Yeah, I want to see the world. I love to understand cultures and people, and you can draw so much in your life from those. I'd rather have that than stuff, I guess, is what it comes down to. Those memories. You don't take your stuff with you to the grave, but the memories that you built on those trips and the experiences and the way that you fill your life, those make an impact, whether it's on your children, or we like to take the kids with us on a lot of these adventures. And I just simply love to travel. Greece is probably my favorite place that I've been so far. I don't know if you've been to Greece.
I have not been to Greece. My mom has, and she really loved it.
I loved it.
What part of Greece did you go to?
So I went to Athens, Mykonos, and Santorini. And of course, like, this is like the very normal run of the mill. Everyone goes to these places the first time they go to Greece. But normally, once I take a country off my list, I'm like, I'm never going back. But now I want to go to Crete and to Paros and to all of the other islands I didn't get to. The islands are really special. Athens is a big city. Obviously, the Acropolis, like, you have to see the historic sites. But like, for me, that was like a hop in, spend 2 days, and then get to the real fun. The islands are just so unique, and each of them are unique from each other. And when people say that the Santorini sunset is unlike anything else in the world, they are not joking. It is the most magnificent thing I've ever seen in my whole life. So
what's your next trip? Do you have one planned already?
So I'm going skiing in a couple days, actually. And then I don't know what our big trip this year is going to be. I want to take my son to Japan for his high school graduation next year. And so that is definitely going to happen, but that's in 2027. It's not this year. This year, I'm not sure where we're heading.
Okay. Have you been to Japan before, or is it your first time?
No, it's my first time. In Asia, I've been to Taiwan and to Bali, and I loved them both, but Bali is a really special place. Really special.
Do you travel mostly to Asia or to Europe, or do you go equally?
I would say Europe is probably my most common travel spot. I would say I've been to Asia twice. I've been to Australia. I've definitely been throughout like the Caribbean. I haven't been to South America. I'm trying to get there. Machu Picchu is very high on the bucket list. So I'm hoping to get to Machu Picchu in the next few years. I'm thinking it's a 49th birthday trip for me. We shall see. I'm planning on Africa for my 50th. So
You're going on a safari in
I
Africa?
I want to do not only a safari, but I also want to go see some of Africa in its natural form, not just like sort of the commercialized, but I kind of want to go to where you can actually experience the culture a little bit. And I'm not sure which country yet, but that is definitely like I have a few years to plan it, but I Africa's high on that bucket list also.
Yeah, we have a neighbor who I think is from Kenya, and I was talking to him once, and he was telling me, "Oh yeah, you walk around, you see, elephants next to your house."
So cool. Like,
Dang.
could you imagine? Like, there's an elephant right there. So, but although you do have to be careful, especially if their babies are around, they can be
Yeah.
a little vicious. But yeah, I there's not much I don't want to see. I just think that experience the world just enriches who you are and it lets you understand cultures and tolerance and diversity. And I really love to travel. It's definitely my favorite thing.
Yeah. I want to see Machu Picchu too. Yeah, I can see that.
It's quite an excursion. I've been heavily looking into it because the 49th is coming sooner than the 50th, and the it's you have to plan. It's a little
Yeah,
bit more of what's funny is I definitely would say I like a little bit more luxurious vacations. I would definitely say it's not going to be all about the lap of luxury, but I also love energies, which is why I loved Bali and Sedona, Arizona. There's cool energies in those places, and Machu Picchu is supposed to have very cool energy.
yeah.
So,
So how often do you get to golf?
so I take lessons once a week, or I try to. My golf instructor somehow puts up with me because I have lots of cancellations on that Friday golf lesson. But I take a lesson every week, and then I try to play. I try to play as often as I can, which is not very often. Like I'll try to do a Sunday once a month if I can. And then when I go on vacation, like we try to get to Hawaii as often as we can, and I'll golf almost every day when I'm in Hawaii.
Yeah, I haven't golfed in like 12 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
I'm
not
not,
a
I'm
golfer.
not good, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm terrible, but I do like it.
The only place that I remember golfing a lot, which I liked, was in Yosemite. We golfed in Yosemite once. That
Oh,
was
I didn't
cool.
even know Yosemite had golf, but what a beautiful, I've never been there, but I've heard it's
Yeah,
absolutely gorgeous.
yeah. So what part of Hawaii do you go to? Do you go to Hawaii?
Usually Maui. I'm sort of partial to
You see
Maui.
these two? Those are from Maui.
Oh, I was going to ask you earlier, but I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
want to like interrupt you, but those are
these are,
beautiful.
these
Maui's
are in
such,
Maui all the time. Yeah,
I
that's my
think
favorite.
Maui is one of the just most charming places. And you know what? It's constant and it's reliable. It's reliable for a great trip. That's what I love about it. And I will just sit down and relax for 7 days. So it's amazing.
Well,
So
there you go. There you go. All right. So thank you again. I know you got a lot of stuff to do, so I'm not gonna keep you much longer. But before we go, please tell us again how people can get a hold of you. They need your help.
absolutely. Well, like we talked about before on my website at www.odomlawgroup.com, or you can call 661-367-1699, or email me at Lisa, Lisa, at odomlawgroup.com, which is ODOM lawgroup.com.
And for anybody watching this, please make sure you talk to her or somebody on her team before you get into trouble. Lay everything out from the very beginning, and then you won't have a problem in the future. Plain and simple.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Lisa. And please, if you guys like this episode, please subscribe and watch on the next one. Thanks.
Thank you.